Greetings internet, it's Monica, and today I have a little bit of a different kind of video for you all. Basically, I know we all have unpopular opinions, especially when it comes to books, and previously on my channel I have shared a couple of times my unpopular opinions in two different unpopular opinion book tag videos that I've done in the past, and then just throughout the years on my channel in some videos. But today I thought I'd do something a little bit different and actually have you guys share your unpopular opinions with me, and then I would react to them. I'm really excited for this. I'm excited to see what unpopular bookish opinions you all have, and excited to hear what everyone thinks in the comments. I posted over on my Instagram story asking you guys to send me your unpopular bookish opinions, and I got a lot of replies. I haven't read them yet because I want to react to them on camera, but I'm really excited. I also put in there that like if you guys didn't want me to include your username, to just like put that in just so I know. So we've got our first unpopular opinion, which is from Rachel Radish, and they wrote, "Not sure if unpopular, but giving a love interest who is an angsty asshole a tragic backstory is no excuse and stale." I agree. This is something that is done so often, I feel like, in so many books. We'll have a character who is like really mean and just like an awful person throughout the book, and then at one point you're basically given this like sob story for them, and it's like oftentimes it's legit and you feel bad for them, but it's like that's also like not an excuse for being a horrible person, and oftentimes very problematic. So 100% agree. Nadia Likes Girls wrote, "I don't get the hype surrounding Scythe. I mean, it all felt pretty underdeveloped and very tropey, but I guess it's just me." I have not read Scythe yet. What do you guys think? Have you read Scythe? Do you think it's like overhyped, or do you think it's worth the hype? Let me know in the comments down below. It is on my TBR. I need to get to it. Everyone I know loves it, like loves it so much. So I don't know. Now I want to read it. This is the thing about unpopular opinions, is like once someone says like, "Oh, I hate this thing," and especially if it is something that like everyone genuinely loves, like then I want to read it more, because then I want to know how I feel, you know? Booker Girl, oh my gosh. Booker Girl wrote, "I DNF'd Nevernight." What? No. I love that book with all of my heart. Oh, wait. My bad. Wrong. Never book. So there are too many books with the word never at the beginning. I'm just putting that out there. I definitely got that confused with Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, which I love. If you have not read Nevermore, it is everything. She's talking about Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, which I also DNF'd. That book was, in my opinion, not great. So oh yeah. Brecht FM wrote, "I like it when books are predictable, as in I like it when they give me the experience I expected them to. Depends on the genre, of course, but I love rom-coms because I know what to expect. Same for books." I could see that. There are sometimes when you go into a book and you kind of go into it because you want a certain story, you know, and not in this way that like you don't want anything new, but it's sometimes nice to see like different authors, like even though like for example a romance book might play with the same tropes and the same sort of like plot that is used a lot by other romance writers, they take it and they do something new with it, with the characters that they bring into it and the situations and all of that, and make it their own still. Book Syrup wrote, "I didn't think The Cruel Prince was that great." I clearly disagree. I love The Cruel Prince. I do understand why people wouldn't like it though. Like my roommate Kaylee like did not like it at all. So I get it. I do think it is like a slower book, and the beginning, like some people might call it boring. I didn't. I thought it was like very gripping. And I will say that I think Carden does kind of suffer from what someone had mentioned earlier, that whole like having someone be mean and then giving them like a sad background to make it okay. Like, you know, it does sort of suffer from that. So, but I do love the book. It's so good. I can't wait until the third one. It's why like the second one hasn't even come out yet. Hey Lindsay wrote, Ready Player One is the worst. And I am not a Ready Player One fan either, so you are not alone there. Eclixio wrote, I jumped on the Red Queen train because of the hype and thought it was vastly overrated, DNF'd after book 3. That's very impressive that you got to book 3. I have not read Red Queen, but I have heard very mixed things from it. I feel like even the people who are like fans of Red Queen always say things about how it is kind of generic and not the best, but they love it anyways. I don't know. This person doesn't want their username shared, but they wrote, Perks of Being a Wallflower was a better movie than the book. Oh god. I vehemently disagree. I mean, I love the movie and I love the book, but I think like I have such a nostalgia around the book and I have like such an attachment to it that I can't be unbiased with this. But I think both are amazing, and I think Steven Chbosky, who wrote the book and then I believe also wrote the screenplay for the film, did an amazing job for both. I think he did a good job of updating the film too, for like the year that it came out. But yeah, oh, that book just like forever holds a special place in my heart. SCDB Petra wrote, I think it's okay to annotate your books. I do that all the time with my books and it's very satisfying. I wish I annotated my books. Like, I just never think about it until after I've finished a book. Like, I kind of want to go back and reread Pachinko and just annotate, because there were so many moments that like I really want to like think about more deeply or reflect on further than when I did when I was just reading it. But yeah, I like every time I see like people's annotated books, I love them. I think they're beautiful. I love that they seem so like personal. So I wish I did it. It seems lovely. But yeah, I just never got around to it. Last Vegas wrote, I dislike Everything by Nicola Yoon in any Morgan Matson book. Oh, okay. So Everything by Nicola Yoon, I read that when it, like before it even came out. I had like gotten an ARC at Book Expo and I read it like that week. So I read it before any of the hype. I still haven't seen the film, I just realized. So I read it before anyone had hyped it up and I really enjoyed it. But I also read it before a lot of the discourse around the ableism of the book came out. And once that had been sort of discussed and you know, my love for it definitely faded a bit. And I think that those discussions were really important. And yeah, so I'm really glad they happened. I have not read it since, and I probably never will. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd still like it today. As far as Morgan Matson, though, I adore Morgan Matson books. I've only read 2, but I like them because I find them to be charming and relatable and cute and funny, and like Amy and Roger's Epic Detour was like a really good book for me because I read it like, I feel like I'm always dealing with grief, like after losing my dad. Like this happened like years and years ago, but I still sort of, I don't know, I feel like something like that you never get over and you never like are out of the grieving stage. Maybe that's just my opinion. Maybe 20 years from now I'll think differently, but definitely still struggling with it. But a few years ago I read Amy and Roger's Epic Detour and it was really helpful for me because of the depiction of Amy's grief over losing her father and a lot of the guilt of that. So I really liked it. But I also think, like, you know, liking books is subjective and people are going to dislike things that you love, and that's okay. So Bookies and Cookies wrote, I strongly believe you should take the dust jacket off when reading hardcovers and judge people who don't. I never take my dust jacket off. I've started to recently, though, because I started getting into book, like what are they called? Those like book envelopes that people on Etsy make, and I don't know. But I started getting into those, and ever since then I started taking my dust jacket off. I do think reading is easier without the dust jacket too. I just never think to take it off. I'm seeing that I have 2 Throne of Glass unpopular opinions. One is from Carol's Nunness Carol Snunness. Carol Snunness, I think. The writing on the Throne of Glass books makes me angrier every time I think about it. And then Shelbs R wrote, I prefer Chaol over Rowan. So let me talk about Throne of Glass for a second. So I read Throne of Glass as like one of my first sort of book series when getting into booktube, and I was obsessed with it. I absolutely loved those books, devoured them, loved the characters, and I do think that she has done really, really interesting things with her characters. I like the fact that that Selena is this girl who is like badass and assassin, but also like really into fashion. And I like the whole idea of like being able to have multiple loves in your life. And so there are a lot of things that I actually think she does really well. And I think that like she does some plot twists really well. And yeah, so there are things that I like. There are things that like really frustrate me. I think the major one is how she writes her men and all of her male characters. I just get like so frustrated. Like Rowan, I think, is like what killed Throne of Glass for me, because it went from this like really interesting book series to like, I don't know, it's just like his character was just so dull, and it felt like every dude was starting to feel like the same dude, and yeah, I couldn't tell them apart. So I don't know, I kind of feel like it reminds me of how I felt when reading not Throne of Glass, The Mortal Instruments, where like you could tell that a book series was supposed to end at book 3, but it had to continue, and so it just has that like awkwardness of like, none of this was really supposed to happen, was it? So that's kind of how I feel about that. I don't have like super strong dislike for Sarah J Maas. Like there are people who like really hate Sarah J Maas, and I think I just kind of, I really enjoyed her books when I read them, but I just don't think that they're for me anymore. Personal Fixations wrote, I'm not a big fan of Colleen Hoover. I've never read her books, but I have a feeling that I would not be a big fan either. Ellen Marie wrote, I don't like a lot of YA fantasy, and I feel like I can never admit that in booktube. I feel like there are a lot of booktubers who don't like YA fantasy. I think like if you're only watching like the most subscribed to people on booktube, then like it can be very easy to have that idea. But I think if you just like do some searching, like there are so many booktubers who never touch YA fantasy if you're not into it, and if they do, it's like not the thing that they focus on. I wouldn't be afraid of admitting that you don't like YA fantasy. Like there are lots of genres that I tend to not like. Like I'm not a big mystery thriller fan, I'm not a big romance fan, so I just tend to avoid those areas. Anyway, I'm Allison wrote, The Name of the Wind is not good. I don't get why it's so popular. Quoth is insufferable. I actually DNF'd The Name of the Wind. I do want to go back and continue reading it. I just think that like I wasn't really in the mood for like a dense fantasy at that point in time. But I feel like that one, people either like really, really, really love it, or there's like a small faction of people who just like don't get the hype. Heavy Boots wrote, my unpopular bookish opinion is that I hate deckled edges. Yes! Oh my gosh. Okay, people don't understand when I say this. Like every time I'm in a bookstore, I feel like I comment on this. I hate deckled edges because they're not, okay, first of all, they're not actually, I know that they're supposed to be rustic looking, but they don't look rustic looking because it's done in this pattern. So all it is just like looks like ratty V's in your book. It makes turning the pages really annoying, or like flipping through the pages really annoying. I hate the feeling of them. So yeah, I agree. I hate deckled edges. I'd much rather have like, if someone could just do sprayed edges, like where they're colorful, like yes, all about that. Please do that. Ugh, deckled edges, not my favorite. Emily Minerick wrote, Percy Jackson is overrated, but mad respect for Rick Riordan's Twitter though. I agree with that. Although I've only read one Percy Jackson, but I just couldn't get into it. But I love Rick Riordan's Twitter, and I love what he's doing for middle grade and how he's like continuing his world and all of that. I think it's great, but I couldn't get into the first one. Maybe one day I'll continue, but no. Little Red Library wrote, I prefer paperbacks, and I'm totally happy for them to get messed up and looked well read. I concur. I love a good like worn in paperback. Just like, I don't know, feels cozy. So that is it. Those were your bookish unpopular opinions. Thank you guys so much if you submitted unpopular opinions. It's really fun just reading through them. I'd love to hear in the comments if you guys watching this have any bookish unpopular opinions. Feel free to leave them down below. But also, please remember to be respectful of each other and the people who were willing to submit comments for this video. Everyone is allowed to have a different opinion, and we're allowed to discuss and laugh at them and laugh at ourselves, and it'll all be okay. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye!